top
In this
10
video,
cards
we'll
no
go
one
over
expected
cards
to be
which
good in
no one
Yu-Gi-Oh!
expected to be
Created
good
by
when
the
they first
Duel
came
Logs,
out,
back
but
when he was a
ended up
Kiza
seeing
and not
lots
the
of play.
Spider.
And at number
I
10,
miss
we
when
have
he was a
Cup of
Kiza,
Ace.
but
This
I
card has the
understand you
effect
want to
where
get
you
your
can
own
flip a
branding
coin,
out there,
and if you get
not
heads,
be
you draw
an
2
anime
cards.
character that you
But
technically
if you
don't
get
own the
tails,
rights
your
to,
opponent
so
draws 2
yeah.
cards. So basically, it's a gamble card where you go +1
Duel
on
Logs
the
is
good
always
effect
good at making
and
top 10
-3
videos,
on the
his
bad
magnum
effect.
opus
So
being
no one really used it because
top
that
10
negative effect
Gansley
is
moments,
really
something
bad.
like that.
And
It
that's
was
how
April
it would
Fool's
continue
video.
to be.
It was
A
really
card no
funny.
one used, but
It's
in
secretly a
Duel
top
Links,
12.
This card is good enough to be on the semi-limited list, because the whole meta in Duel Links is just so different, with the lower life points.
Hey man, draw 2 cards. It's hard to get mad at
off
that.
the heads effect of a single cup of
If there was a
ace
card that
was
said cut
sometimes
off your
enough to
left
win you the
arm.
duel with
Oh wait,
certain
there was a
burn
right.
decks.
Well, there's an arm
And so a
offering
card
thing.
that could
Anyway, you get my
instantly
idea.
win
If
you
there's a
the
card
game
that said
if you simply
cut off your arm,
lucky
draw 2 cards,
on your first
it would see
turn
play.
was kind of a problem. So Konami had to put it on the semi-limited list to really control
Meanwhile,
the
in Magic the
luck-based
Gathering,
nature
there's
of
apparently a
burn
card that
decks,
says pay
as
5.
well as
That's
limiting
like
a whole
pay
bunch
2
of
life,
other cards
draw
that let
2.
you
It's
win
like
on your first turn.
imagine that in
And
Yu-Gi-Oh!
even
Pay
then,
500
Cup of
life
Ace
points, draw 2
still
cards.
gets
Boom,
played,
fixed
as
it.
there's a skill in the game that allows your first 3 coin tosses to always be heads.
They edited
which
that
just
skill
turns
to hell
Cup
and
of
back
Ace into
again.
a pot of greed in that deck. And at number
It's
9,
how it
we
usually
have
is. What's that new
Metaverse.
character? Let's give them
This
all
is
the
a trap
busted
card with an
skills.
effect to
A few
search
months
out a
later,
field spell
and
card
nerfed
from
into
your
the
deck,
ground.
or
Happened with
activate it
Noah.
straight from your deck. Now,
It wasn't
when this
that
card
nerfed,
first
to be
came out,
honest, but it was
people
still
thought it was
nerfed.
just a worse terraforming. A spell card
Add
which
2
allows you to
Vinegar
search
to
out
a
any
monster
field
spell
spell from your deck.
specifically.
Basically, because terraforming exists, anything that had an effect to search out a field spell card had to be better than terraforming for decks to even consider playing it. And
Otherwise, you gotta build a
Metaverse
new
was just a
land.
worse
It's a
terraforming,
joke.
as having to set a trap card and then wait a turn to activate it in order
nah.
to search out another card is just worse than getting to activate a spell card directly from your hand for no cost.
Funnily enough, with
And then
Metaverse, just
something
immediately
happened to the
activating
game.
it, the
2
card,
cards
it
were
does
released
really speed it up,
afterwards
even though it's
that
a trap.
retroactively made Metaverse just as good as terraforming, if not better, in certain situations. One of them called Trap Trick.
There are some
which is a
situations
trap
where you want to
card that
activate
allows
the
you to
field
search
spell
out any normal trap card from your
immediately.
deck,
Right
and then
now?
activate
Yes,
it that
right
turn,
now!
And a field spell card called Mystic Mine.
Ugh,
A field spell
all
with
hail the
such a
Mystic
good
Mine.
lockdown effect that it basically counters nearly all of the
I
top
do not
meta
miss this
decks
card.
by itself.
I will never
But
miss
it
this
has a
card.
restriction
I
where
am
it
fine
destroys
where it
itself
is
based
right
on the number
now
of
and that
monsters
it
on the
never
field.
leave that place.
So you couldn't really
That's where the
activate
chicken
Mystic
game
Mine
came
during your
back.
first turn
Ugh.
and then pass to your opponent in
That
order
was
to
just
walk
OG
meta monster
Mystic Mine.
effects without Mystic Mine destroying
Meh.
itself. But with Metaverse, that allowed you to activate it directly from your deck.
Yeah, so the
during
moment
your
you're on the
opponent's
back
turn,
foot, boom.
which is better than terraforming in that kind of deck.
Yeah,
and
terraforming
Mystic
got
Mine was
effectively
so
wait.
good with Metaverse, and
Metaverse,
Trap Trick
nope.
made it so easy to search out Metaverse that they just straight up limited Metaverse to 1. They also limited terraforming to 1 as well at the
Just to
same
be
time,
safe.
just to show that terraforming was still very powerful as well. It's just when Metaverse first came out, no one really expected it to outperform terraforming in any deck.
Well, that's how it
Although,
works. And
even
sometimes
then,
you gotta find the right
card was still a
circumstances.
straight
Max
up
C
search
wasn't good
anything
at
from your
first,
deck, so
but
it was still
well,
kind of good. That's
the
why it's only
game
the number 9
changed
spot
and
on
sped
this
up.
list. And at number 8, we have the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode.
Oh,
Now, before
triple
this card came
kaiju.
out, the Egyptian god cards were kind of a joke. in the
Where's my
competitive
a Slifer
Yu-Gi-Oh
sphere
community,
mode and
as
Obelisk
they're
sphere
a
mode?
very,
Kidding, it's never gonna
very
happen.
popular archetype. One that was completely broken in the anime, which is not very good in the actual game.
No.
Despite
They're
that
fun
fact,
though.
they
It's always
still
it's gonna
remain
be
very
fun to say I
popular in
summoned
the
Slifer
actual
the
game,
Sky Dragon,
on
right?
the more casual side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway. So, when they released new support for the Winged Dragon of Ra,
Ra
in the
got
form
so
of
much
giving him a
shit.
sphere mode as well
It's
as
ridiculous.
a Phoenix mode, to better showcase its anime
And they've only gotten more with
people
time.
didn't
Slifer
really
and
pay too
Obelisk
much mind.
finally got their moments.
And in
thank
fact, some people
goodness.
just thought it was a worse kaiju, since it requires 3 monsters instead of 1.
But
what this
actually,
card
in some
does
situations, it's
is
a
you
better
contribute 3
kaiju.
monsters from either player's side of the field in order to summon this card.
I said this
And
before,
then
and I'll
you
say it
contribute
again.
this
It is
card
fun as hell to
special summon
side
a
in
Winged
Raw
Dragon
in
of Ra
my
from
main
your
deck when they
with
when I know they
4,000
have
attacking
Sphere mode.
effects.
What's that?
And
Your
this
Sphere mode
card
back
is
view?
nowadays
Fine. Great
one
beast
of
from the
the
sky.
most
Please
played
hear my
side
cry.
deck
Wait,
cards.
what?
Because the ability to tribute 3 of your opponent's monsters is actually super good in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the current meta is all
It'd be
about
funny if it was
setting up a
level 1
board
so you
of
could just use it to
monsters
go
who
into
can
Link
negate
Kuriboh.
anything you want to do. Because if you tribute the monsters for Sphere mode, they can't respond to that
Nope.
tribute with a negate. They just lose their monsters, and then get a 0 attack monster in return.
So
And
this is
since
what
it
you
can
get from
tribute
the man
3
who has
monsters,
everything,
it can
a
more
giant
readily get rid of
glowing
a whole bunch of
bowling
hard-to-get
ball.
rid of monsters at
I
once.
love Pegasus.
whereas kaijus can only get rid of one at a time. And at number 7, we have Brilliant Fusion. This card has the effect where you can use
Oh,
materials
I'm sorry,
from your deck
I must
to
have
fusion summon a
misread Garnet.
Gemnite fusion monster.
This
But
thing's
that card
back,
will
by
have
the
zero
way.
attacking
It's
defense.
off the ban list,
Now,
and
this
no
card
one
is played
cares.
so much in so
Well,
many different
Gemnite
decks
players care, but it's
that
still like, the
most
thing's
used
back.
card
Okay,
with Brilliant
anyway,
Fusion,
it's like when Stratos
Gemnite
came
Garnet,
back.
is now the card
like,
known
neat.
for having a dead card in your hand. And in fact,
A
if
card
you have
you
a
want
dead
in the
card in your
deck, but
hand
not in
and
the
you refer
hand.
to it as a Garnet, people will know what you mean because of how prevalent Brilliant Fusion was.
The meme of
Before it got
Garnet is more
limited to one.
popular than Garnet
And
is.
funny enough, when this card first came out, no one was really using it because
Because
the best
Seraphonite
way to use
wasn't out
Brilliant
yet.
Fusion is to bring out Gemnite Seraphonite and sending Gemnite Garnet plus one light monster from your deck to the
Typically,
graveyard.
Trick Clown would also
And
be
in doing
Outstanding
this,
Dog Maroon
you
if you were a
gain
bit
a monster on the
cheaper.
field, a double summon
It's not a bad
due to
thing, it has infinite
Seraphonite's effect,
resources.
and a selective mill of a light monster to the graveyard, of which there are a
Look, you
lot
gotta
of
think,
great
look,
targets.
Brilliant Fusion was a lot of money.
So
You gotta
this
think
is
about
so
the
much
price
value
sometimes.
from this one little play, and that's why it saw so much play. But no one really
This is
used
back
it
when
until
normal
I
summoning
think
mattered.
a Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus deck used Brilliant Fusion Engine in order to turbo out Great Magnus. And since this one card, not part of the Super Quantal archetype, was the reason that archetype was able to be successful for that tournament,
That's
that
sad.
really got people to notice how good this card
Yeah,
was.
I think
And then
once
all of a sudden,
Quantum's win
everybody
Worlds, thanks
was
to a
using it,
single
to the
spell
point
card,
where
not
it got
part of the
limited for
archetype.
being too useful.
That sends a
And
message.
at number 6, we have Solemn Judgment. Funny enough,
This thing is
Solemn
funny enough,
Judgment
right-
came out
it
in
has
one
a
of
bit
the
of
earliest sets
controversy
the game,
now in GOAT
and
formats.
rarely saw play. Despite the fact that it's considered one of the strongest trap cards nowadays.
Yeah,
and
because
spent
back in
years
GOAT
on the ban
format, we
list.
didn't know how
Because
good Solemn
what it
Judgment
does
was, so people
is
didn't
it
really
allows
play
you to pay
it back
half your
then.
life points
But
to
now we
negate
know
the
how
summon of a
busted
monster.
Solemn Judgment is, so people
Or
are
negate
retroactively
any spell
playing
trap
it, not
card
knowing how
effect.
strong
It's
it is now.
basically
It's
pay
like,
half your
we didn't
life
know
points
back
to
then,
negate
so is
one
it
of
right to
anything,
play it
which is
in
a
this
really
situation?
good effect.
It's a bit of a
As a
debate.
single negate can completely disrupt
Look,
an
GOAT
opponent's
format doesn't have a
strategy
lot to
within
talk
the
about.
game.
Let him have this
But
one,
back when
okay?
this card first came out, rarely anyone was using it. And that's kind of because the game back then was just a lot slower, where even if you could negate one key part of your opponent's strategy,
I like
it was
how they took
difficult
the
to get enough
Halo off
monsters
God
on
but
board
left it
to
on the
OTK your
Angels.
opponent
But we can't have Shining
consistently,
Angel have it.
Whereas
Graceful Charity got to
basically
keep her
any
Halo, I
deck
think.
can do that easily nowadays. So you can really take advantage of the
Pretty
negate
funny
as
to put a
easily as you
Graceful
can today.
To put a freaking Halo on top of the
Kinda.
nuke out the
This
Guardian,
card
that's Graceful Charity.
is a
Meh.
point of contention in the GOAT format community.
Yeah,
as the
I brought
GOAT
this up.
format only uses old cards from that one format in the early days of YuGiOh. And since Solemn Judgment existed back then,
It's
people
allowed
played
to
in the
be
GOAT
played.
format. But no one was playing Solemn Judgment in the actual
I didn't know we talked
days
about
of
this in the
GOAT
video. I
format.
wouldn't have
It's
brought it
kind
up
of
if we
like
did.
using future knowledge of a card being good in an old game.
In other words,
So it
you
can
come
be
from the
seen as
future
kind of
and
an
using
advantage.
and know all
Now,
the winning
that doesn't
lottery
really matter.
numbers.
Solemn Judgment is still a really good card even today in the current meta, and the reason it doesn't see very much play is just because many decks don't use trap cards, because
Yeah.
they'd rather have that card in their hand be something that could extend combo plays than
I see
setting
what you
something
know,
like Solemn Judgment.
Yeah.
Although I should mention it
But it's still
does
decent even today, and they
absolutely
make new
see play,
versions about it all the
just,
time.
you know, not in like every deck.
Yeah, no,
And at number
it has its
5,
place.
we
in
have
the side
Mud
deck, at least.
Dragon of the Swamp.
Yeah, this is something
Now,
that
this
I
is
thought
a
this
level
would be
4
dead.
fusion monster who
Nope.
has an effect to help your monsters become untargetable to card effects.
Which is neat,
it's a
I
neat
guess.
effect, but that's not why people play this card. The
No.
reason this card sees play is
Super
because
poly.
of its fusion materials. This card requires any two monsters with the same attribute but different types, which is really good when comboed with a card like Super Polymerization, a card that lets you use your opponent's
Still don't like
monsters as fusion materials, and that's recently come off the ban list completely, and is an excellent way
That's
for
how you
people
know
to
all
get rid
the
of
video
problem
is.
cards
I
on
think it
their
was 7
opponent's side
years
of the
ago, but
board,
still. Ugh.
because Super Polymerization is spell speed 4, so they can't negate it.
Which technically doesn't
And Mud
exist, but it's
Dragon
a
of the
fan
Swamp
term.
is just a really good card to use with Super Polymerization, as it
Yeah,
allows
your
you
opponent's
to have
starting to
a
build their
wide
board, and I
range
got
of
the
different
same monster up in
monsters
the
you might
field.
come across.
Get away with it.
And that's
Yeah,
the
facts.
true value
Get
of
outta
this
here.
card. Literally, its combo potential with Super Polymerization, and that's it. If they banned Super Polymerization
What is my
again,
purpose?
then
Get
no
rid of
one's
that
going to use this
monster.
card.
Oh my
But
god. Yeah, welcome to
because
the
Super
club,
Poly
pal.
is in the game,
What's
and
my
because
purpose?
it's so good
You're a
against
Super
the current
Poly
meta,
target.
people are playing this card, and it's entirely dependent on the status of Super Poly. And at number 4, we have Mass Driver. This is a continuous spell
Yeah.
card with the effect to
Thanks,
tribute
frogs.
one monster on your side of the field.
What's
to
sad is they can
inflict
bring this thing
400
back
points
easily
of
and make it
burn
a hard
damage
once
to
per
your
turn. But
opponent.
if they make it a hard once per
When
turn,
this
who
card
the
first
fuck is
came
gonna
out,
play
people
it?
thought this card was
Maybe they
terrible.
make it a hard
as
twice per
getting
turn
rid
or
of one of your
something? I don't
monsters
know.
for only 400 points of damage was not at all worth the trade-off.
Sad thing
400
is
points
with
of
Mass
damage
Driver,
is basically just a double
if it came back
a
today,
card
I don't
infamous
know
for
how
being
good it
terrible.
would be, because
And Mass
it's like
Driver is
so many
currently
cards
banned,
combo out nowadays,
and
but
I
they're
can't
not
see it ever
fraud
coming off the
levels.
ban
I don't
list.
know.
And here's why this card was considered bad.
Do you think
when
Mass
it came
Driver
out
could come back? Let
and
me know in the
considered
comments.
so good today. And that's entirely just because of the evolution of the speed of the game. Back in the day, when this card first came out, it was incredibly
garbage.
difficult to special summon one monster during your turn. The meta was to trigger
summon
a summon
Cyber Dragon,
skull,
or Ritual
and
Summon
then
or
use
something.
that to beat over your opponent's monsters. In a slow
Summon
meta
Skull
like
is still
that,
pretty
there
good
was
for a
no
level
way to
6
take
monster,
advantage
not
of
gonna
Mass Driver.
lie.
It
2500
wasn't
attack,
until
hard to complain
Substitute
with that.
came out, along with Swap Frog and Ronin Totem, that decks finally got to the point where they could special
Substitute
summon
could
a
just
ton
go
of
through
monsters
the
in
entire
return,
frog
which worked
engine,
really
then
well
Ronin
with a
could keep
card that
reviving
contribute
itself
them
using the
for
frog
burn
engine
damage
as
that
material,
had
and
no
just keep
once per
Mass
turn
Driver burn,
restriction
Mass
on it.
Driver burn, Mass
So in
Driver
order
burn.
to FDK your opponent with Mass Driver,
Constantly.
you just needed to use its effect 20 times. And special summoning
your opponent
20
to sit
cards
there
during
and
your
do
first
nothing.
turn in the old school days of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Joke's on you,
is
I
just not
activate
happening.
Damage Eater.
But a frog deck with Substitute
That doesn't exist
can
back then.
easily and consistently special
Bro,
summon
why didn't they
20
just play
monsters
damage
in
die?
one
It's
turn.
skill issue.
Of course,
Doesn't
Substitute is
exist.
banned, and they usually get rid of loops that allow you to special summon an infinite amount of times
Usually.
during your turn.
Well, they did
And there's
nerf
even
that thing
cards like
eventually,
Cannon
and it
Soldier
was
still
ultimately
legal
better
in the
for
game
it.
that can do what
I
Mass
haven't heard
Driver
anyone complain
does,
about
only
Firewall
on a
Dragons
monster
since then.
effect. But those are kind of balanced by the fact that
I
you
don't know,
need
so
to
always thought
get that
Cannon
monster on the
Soldier's head
field,
thing,
whereas
like,
Mass Driver
face
is
thing
a
always like its
continuous
head
spell
turned to the
card,
side.
so it's much
Like
easier
a,
to
huh?
use for the same effect. And even in the OCG, all of the Cannon Soldier-like cards are banned anyway, because being able to tribute
Because they
an
realized
unlimited
that
amount of
burning
times
way
during your
too
turn
much
for
is
burn
way too
damage
broken for the game.
just opens up
But
too
anyway,
much
Max
potential
C
for
is
decks
nice
that
and
can win on your
nice,
first turn.
right? Well, then I guess
And
the
at
OCG's
number
gotta do some
3,
things
we
right,
have
right?
Super Rejuvenation.
Yep.
This card's kind of like Mass Driver in that it exists
Heretics
in the
would
game
love
for a
this
long time,
frickin' thing.
and no one ever used it. Until the
Let,
Dragon
honestly,
Rulers came out.
let Heretics
and
have
Super
Super
Rejuvenation has
Rejuvenation.
an
Does
effect
nothing.
where you can draw
I think they took
cards
this thing
equal
off
to
the
the number
ban
of
list somewhat
Dragon-type
recently.
monsters you discarded or tributed during the end phase. And since Dragon Rulers are all about discarding a crap ton of Dragon monsters from your hand, Super Rejuvenation was basically turning into a Spellbook of Judgment for Dragon Ruler decks.
Yeah, just
And Spellbook
dump
of
your
Judgment
entire
is one of the
hand,
most broken
activate
cards
Super
of all time.
Rejuvenate end
So they
phase,
banned Super
draw your
Rejuvenation
entire
for
hand
allowing
back,
you to go
basically.
+6 during your end phase. Or even more sometimes, as you could go above the hand size limit and be completely fine with discarding your extra cards to the graveyard.
Yeah, the cards you
as
want to
Dragon
go to the
Rulers
graveyard
are all about
specifically.
using the cards in your graveyard as a resource anyway. But then they banned all the Dragon Rulers, and without the Dragon Rulers
Dragon
in the
Rulers
game,
are back now,
Super
though, and got some
Rejuvenation
support.
isn't really that bad. It's really only that one archetype that can take advantage of it to
Basically,
the
I
degree
say Heretics,
that allows you to go
Heretics
+6
have their
during
own
the end
Super
phase
Rejuvenation as
consistently.
well. They could use some
And
support.
that's why this card is unlimited in the OCG, where they literally only have one Dragon Ruler unbanned, and limited to one.
Well,
Because
after
it's
this,
not that
no,
big of a deal
long after the
outside
video
of
came
Dragon
out,
Ruler
all the
decks,
Dragon Rulers are
but
back,
it
and
still
they're
gets a high spot on this list.
doing stuff
because
sometimes.
in Dragon
Nowhere
Ruler
near the
decks,
levels I used to
this
be though,
card
but
is
I've seen them in a
incredibly
deck
broken.
profile or two.
And at number 2, we have Ancient Fairy Dragon.
Bring
This
back
was a synchro
AFD.
monster that
Did they bring
existed
back
for
it? Oh, wait, no, they
really
did with
long
Anarada,
time,
I believe.
and was
yeah.
one of the 5 main Dragon synchro monsters
I will never.
from the 5Ds anime.
She is
and
the
was
first
always
protagonist
considered the
card that
worst
has
of the
ever been
bunch.
banned. It's
Because
like,
what it does
yes, the duelist that
is
had
it
like
allows you to
3
destroy the
duels in the
field spell
entire
cards
series.
and then add another field
And
spell
most of
card
them
from
were
your
with
deck to
Leo.
your hand, as well as gaining 1,000
They
life
should have just
points.
Uno
And it
reversed
also
who was the
has an
signer.
effect that allows you to special
Then again, I
summon
guess
a
they wanted to
level
have
4
at
lower
least 2
monster from
girls
your
as a
hand
signer, so,
at the
a bit
cost
more
of giving up
quality
your
in
battle
the party.
phase.
Not gonna
Giving
complain
up your
with that,
battle
it's just
phase
like,
is
ugh.
a pretty hefty cost for special summoning a low-level monster.
I don't know, I was
from
expecting
your
Studio
hand.
Gal to treat their
So
women
most
with
people
respect.
never use that first
would
effect
be a
because it was
first.
kind of bad.
Well, I know
Back
it's good,
then.
though.
And also back then, field spell cards weren't very good, and most archetypes had their weakest card of their archetype being their field spell card, as it would usually just give
like
them an
that
attack
card.
boost or something else mediocre.
I mean, it's not
So
that
being able to
great, but I
destroy
like
them
that
and then
spell
search
card.
Another one just wasn't a big deal. But then, kind of like Mass Driver, the meta of the game shifted.
Yeah,
Konami started
field
printing
spells got
field spell
better
cards that were
and better
actually the
and better
best card of
and
the
better.
archetype, as many of them allowed you to go +1 when activating them.
Yeah, most of them are just
or
like,
gained
please
effects
search
if they
your
were
entire
destroyed.
engine.
And this card allowed you to special summon a monster from your hand, which is super valuable in combo decks. So the combination of both of these effects on an extra deck monster, which means you don't have to search it out from your main deck, and can
Also
go
gives
into
you
it as
some
long
life
as you're
points,
able
which
to
are
go
nice.
into a
No
level
one's using
7
it for the
synchro
plus
monster,
1,000, but it
made this
you
card
know, it's nice.
incredibly good. And broken in certain decks that could search off their field
But
spell
no was
cards
playing
being
AFD
destroyed.
for the
Or it could just
1,000
go
life
+1
point
when they were
game.
activated. And it got to the point where some decks could win on their first turn with a single card from their hand
I'm glad Ancient Fairy got a new
because
form,
Ancient
too.
Fairy
It's good she got
Dragon
an
existed
upgrade.
and allowed them to pull
Now the
off
Sunners have had their
incredible combos.
upgrades.
And that's why
good.
Ancient Fairy Dragon got banned. It's just too good of a combo extender now. Which is ironic because none of the other 5 main dragon synchro monsters from the 5
We're Blackwing Dragon.
are on the ban list
We're
in any way,
Livestream
shape, or
Dragon.
form.
You
So
don't
it
watch
went from
fight. No,
being
he
the
watches
worst
the
of the
anime,
bunch
or watched
to the
the
most
anime.
broken of the bunch. And at number
Ironic.
1, we have Grinder Golem.
Thanks, you
Now,
Bell.
just like a lot
you
of
ruined
other
this
cards
card.
in this list,
No,
this card
actually,
existed
Bell
in the
didn't. It
game
was
for
a Bell
long
card,
time
but
and never saw any play.
yeah,
And in
Firewall
fact, was thought of
Dragon.
as kind of a joke card because its effect was kind of bad.
Yeah.
Because what this card does is, at the cost of your normal summon, you can special summon this 3k beater from your hand to your opponent's side of the field.
And in return, you get 2 tokens.
You get 2 tokens with 0 attack in attack position. So basically, you were giving your
What if
opponent
Lava
a strong
Golem,
monster,
but worse?
losing your normal summon
Kind
for
of.
the turn.
Similar
all for
idea,
2
though.
tokens with no stats that were forced into attack position.
Grinder
so
Golem's
this
a
card
cool
was
name,
almost
though.
never played, and only really saw success in gimmicky Infernal Tempest builds. Although I don't know if you can really call those successful decks. But then
They're fun, though.
Link monsters were added to the game, and Link monsters
And the
allow
game
you
was
to
never the
bring out
same.
extra deck monsters with tokens. And there were a few Link monsters that could return Grinder Golem to your hand from your
Yeah,
opponent's
might as well
side
been
of the
like,
field.
give your opponent
And since
free
Grinder
3,000
Golem
beat
only
stick,
locks
and
you out
you
of
can
your
start your
normal summon for the
entire
turn,
wombo combo.
not from special summons, a single Grinder Golem could be special summoned
Also,
from your
security-
hand many times
you-
to grant you a Link 4
Yeah, but
monster
Security Dragon, you
easily,
just summon it to the
while
zone,
also
then
getting the
Security Dragon,
Grinder
bounce the
Golem
Grinder
back
back,
in your
and then
hand.
just go full combo
So
again.
basically, without
I think
losing
Xylo
any
did
advantage
that
and only
once in
giving
one
up
of
your
the,
normal summon for that
those
turn.
deck fight
And Grinder
things
Golem was so good, it
they
was
used to do.
basically a staple
I miss
card in
those.
every single meta deck that could use Link monsters, because there is almost no
it
reason
was
not to
called
play
YuGiOh
Grinder
Fight
Golem
Club.
with how much advantage this one card could give you. And then the card eventually got limited to 1, and everyone was still playing it in every single deck.
That didn't
And then
solve
the card eventually
anything,
just
let's
got
be
banned for
real.
still being too good. Grinder Golem is like the poster
Limiting
boy
a
for
card in
this list, a
Yu-Gi-Oh!
card that was
9 times
basically
out of
thought
10
as a
does
joke,
nothing.
becoming
Okay,
one
maybe
of the
not
most
9,
played
let's
staple
say
cards
7.
in the game overnight, because it just happened to interact very well with the new summoning mechanic.
Most times people just go anyway.
Alright, and that's the list. If you think there's any other cards I missed that should have made the list, or have ideas for future videos,
If you're wondering like
just
where's
like
cards
this
like
one,
Max C
I'd
and
love to
stuff
hear
like
about them
that.
down in the
Well,
comments.
Dualogs did also implement a rule of like, okay, we gotta ban some of these cards from the discussion of the top 10 list, because otherwise it's gonna be like Brawl Sword Dragon wins every top 10, Max C wins every top 10. Like, that's not very fun for top 10 building and all of that stuff, so we're just gonna like be like, he like puts in this description, be like, oh, also this is where this would go, but we didn't put it there because we'd like to have a little variety in these top 10 lists, which, yeah, if Dualog's gonna be making these things forever, you're gonna need to spice it, because it can't just do the same top 10 list over and over and over again. YouTube is founded on top 10 lists and cat videos. Doesn't mean you can do the same video forever. But at least when Dualogs does other kinds of top 10 lists, there are other kinds of top 10 lists. But yeah, it is interesting how many cards in this game are something that we thought would be cry ended up being pretty decent. Like, I think there was one thing by Gage, aka Nimhim, which is like, this Yu-Gi-Oh card, or like this bad Yu-Gi-Oh card was good. There was one where, like, yeah, he did one on Bull Blader because it was good in Necros format just to out the freaking annoying Genlock. And one on Standing Dog Baroon during Construct format because it was a light monster that infinitely replenished itself. And it was dirt cheap, too, so it's very comfortable for people who gotta worry about their budget. So it was very good resource management in that regard. Plus, without Standing Dog Maroon, you never have to worry about decking out. I miss when he did that series, but you know, then he got in with Simu and did that whole I forgot the name of the thing. It's a progression series, and then YouTube is never the same. Or there's Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube. It really took over. I'll probably have to do the progression series at some point. Yeah, worry about that later down the line, honestly. I got into that series too, and then about halfway through, I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of sick of this song. I'm gonna stop. We can only hear this freaking do so many times. Oy. Not happen when you're binge watching them either, but that's on me. But anyway, yeah, it is interesting going down this game and be like, this card's absolute trash. Actually, it's pretty dang good. Like, Aqua Dolphin was also in the opening thing, where it's like, that thing was, back in the day, was pretty trash, but as we learned, as more hand traps came out that had 0 attack points, turns out it can beat a lot of them, so he actually became more of it. Like, Grand Mole used to be the one where it's like, that one's actually the good one, and the rest are shite, but then it became Asian Aqua Dolphin's the good one, and the rest are kind of shite. I still have a soft spot for Grand Mole, though. I mean, come on. bouncing an opponent's card back to the hand. Let's be honest with ourselves here, that's not a bad effect. Yeah. But if you want to like freaking Flare Scarab, yeah, no, I'm not defending those ones, or Glow Monster and that crap. I'm just saying, Grand Mole, not too bad. But yeah. What are some other cards do you think that were pretty dang busted back, or at least crap back in the day, but are pretty busted now? Smoke Grenade of the Thief is also one that came up, but that was because Konami didn't know about Infernoble Knights about when they were making it. So yeah, I can't get mad at Konami for not knowing that this archetype they came out with would just support this one card they printed back in 2007. Konami has a lot of moments to just be like, okay, you planned this. That was an accident. That one I legit believe was an accident. This wasn't like frickin' when they released Dragoon and Vertanicon and Red Eyes Fusion conveniently all within the same like month of each other or something like that. This is just like, dang it, no. And then they banned it next format anyway, next ban list anyway. So it's like, yeah, okay, that was an accident. It happens. No one's perfect. Even the multi-million-dollar companies make mistakes. So as long as they fix it, I guess that's what matters. But yeah. Anywho, that's the end of the episode, so if you want to see more top 10 lists like this, go check out the Dual Logs channel, link in the description below. And thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, see you all next time, later.